Wow, what a view!
Pathetic.
Are you kidding? It's so beautiful, it's like a movie. It doesn't look real.
I meant you. You want to be a pollen jock? Then where's your pollinator? How were you going to collect the pollen, genius? Stuff it in your pockets?
Oh, sorry. Do you know where I could get?
There. Now you're a real bee.
Wow, you know it's heavier than it looks.
If you do your job right, it's about to get a whole lot heavier.
Oh, great.
First, you gotta sharpen your senses, Grasshopper.
Grasshopper, where?
It's a figure of speech. See that flower with a sparkling pollen cloud?
Yeah.
It means that flower has pollen. Go get it!
Hi everybody, welcome back to B-Movie Game. And here we are getting, I believe this level or I don't know, chapter, mission, or not chapters, but whatever, scene, whatever they call them in the like, level selector thing. This is Pollination 101. We're going to be doing a lot of pollinating flowers in this game. As I said before, not every level requires that you get all of them, but some of them do, and I usually like to try to. And yeah, I'm kind of interrupting this guy's tutorial stuff, because all of this stuff is, like, pretty easy to understand. I've already said most of it, or I could very easily just tell you what it is.
Alright, you only have to press the X button to fly forward and use the left analog stick to direct your flight. Remember, you could always press the square button to dash. By the way...
But yeah, it's a lot of just dumping information on you because it's just telling you, like, everything about the mechanics of being outside. So it's a little much, so I just kind of sped through it. No real reason to get bogged down in all the... It's something that kind of sucks in some video games where, I mean, I understand why it happens, but after a while, and especially with a game that's, like, fairly simple and one that I've played a million times, it gets a little bit tiresome when they have to, like, couch all of the explaining things to you in, like, snappy dialogue for the character and everything. Again, I understand why you do that. It's just, like I said, if you've heard it a lot of times, then it can be a little much. And I don't know what these are supposed to be, the things that you collect to make the statues appear in the museum. I don't know what you would call those things. Anyway, I said that I would be cutting out my save. I lied. I guess I won't do it every time if I forget. I guess maybe it's a container of wax, since it's a wax statue? Who knows?
Sweet.
Anyway, not much to say really for this, stretch. This part of the game is basically, or this part of this level is just basically going around, pollinate all the flowers and chillin'. It's a nice little enclosed garden area for you to just fly around in, get used to flying. That's what I had to do when I was playing on my practice file. Now, luckily, I've gotten far enough in the game on that file that I've had enough time readjusting to the flying controls. I guess I instinctually expect these kinds of flying things to be, inverted up and down controls, but not inverted side-to-side controls, I guess. So I kept, like, messing myself up with that when I was first playing through this, but now I think I am a little bit more coordinated with it to the extent that I can be. I mean, it's not the most perfect flying feeling ever, but it's works pretty well, I think. It's fine. And yes, I am going out of my way to get all of the honey snacks in this. I don't spend too much time doing it, not as much time as it felt like I was spending when I was playing it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go out of my way to get all of them in every level, but this is literally the easiest one to get all of them in, or at least from what I remember, so why not? Just get all of them. I don't really remember what they do. I don't know if just getting all of them is part of 100% completion or what. But anyway, I like this part of the game. I mean, it's like the very beginning. But I'm just saying, like, this part of this game, the pollination, is like one of my favorite parts because it's just kind of chill. And this part in particular, and other parts where the game just sort of stops and lets you do flower stuff and fly around and whatnot, and there's not really any enemies or anything to look out for. I don't know, it's just a nice vibe. It's, you know, kind of, I want to play Bee Simulator, you know. And, you know, it's nice just going around all the flowers and such. Doing the pollination is insanely easy. Yeah. It makes me want to try. I have never played it, but I have seen gameplay of it, and it looks really wacky and weird, and I'd like to see if I can find either a ROM of it or maybe even buy it. Is Mr. Mosquito. I think it's for the PS2, and you play. It's like Mosquito Simulator, essentially, from what I can tell. Maybe that's what I need. Also, something about the music. I don't know if at any point that I wasn't talking, it was playing so that you could hear it, but the music in this scene here, and it comes up in other places, reminds me a lot of the Ratatouille video game, and this game, kind of playing it, gives me a similar vibe as that game. Maybe because you're in both of them, you are a small thing going around the human world, and there are a couple of spots that involve you know, interfacing with the humans, getting chased by them or whatever. In this one, you have quick time event, like, boss, like, mini bosses with humans, where you just go in front of them and bother them, and then you avoid them when they swat at you, and then you press the button prompts, and then they, you know, to avoid them hitting you, and then you go on, you know. And in Ratatouille, you get chased and such. But, yeah, just something about the vibe. Also, they came out around the same time. They both were in 2007. And, yeah, I don't know. They just, I guess, occupy a similar place in my memory, and also are kind of similar. I mean, they're not really similar in terms of gameplay mechanics. Ratatouille is much more of a platformer. There's not much, you know, jumping and platforms in it, and this here that we're gonna see in a minute is the only real thing resembling combat, which is pretty much just getting close to them and then hitting the R2 button, or L2, or yeah, it's R2. And it homes in on them, so you don't have to worry about, like, aiming or whatever, which would be a pain in the ass if you had to. And yeah, we're under imminent attack, but this guy is taking 10 minutes to tell me how to do everything.
It allows us to better see dying flowers and other things we can interact with. Press the Bee Vision button to activate.
He could have easily told me about the Bee Vision earlier. I pretty rarely use this unless I am actively encouraged to, and even then you only are on a couple of circumstances. Otherwise, the minimap does a fine job, and your eyes do a fine job of, you know, being able to discern which things you can interact with.
I've got my eye on you. All of them.
Anyway, I'm sure other things will remind me of other games. Weirdly enough, a lot of licensed platforming games from the same, like, 5-year span that I spent the bulk of my youth gaming time on have a lot of similar qualities. Who would have guessed? That is a recurring thing in all of these LPs of these kinds of games that I do, is that I'm like, oh, this is like the other game that I've LP'd. And, yeah, what are you gonna do? But yeah, something about the music, also in the hub world, some of the hub world music reminds me of Ratatouille. Maybe as the game goes on, I'll be able to make more specific connections as to like what about them feels similar, or maybe, you know, what I've already said is enough. Who knows? I am always trying to find the best ways to verbalize the ineffable qualities of these games and all the games that I play and all of the things that I engage with in general, movies and such. But it is hard by definition because they are ineffable. It's hard to F them. I hope you all enjoyed the footage of the glitches that I was encountering at the end of the last one, if you stuck around for that. Watching that, I was kind of bummed. I forgot about this because it's been like almost a year since I recorded that footage, but I'm kind of bummed that the ROM didn't end up working, because while I enjoy the excuse to use my capture card on a new console, because I've just been doing Wii games so far, and I'm not really... I don't have any Switch games that I'm really ready to LP yet. The only Switch game that I have that I've actually completed is Mario Odyssey, and I, like, just finished a long Mario game, so I don't think I'm going to get into that game until, probably, like, the beginning of next year at the earliest, whenever people are into it, but the Mario stuff isn't the favorite kind of thing on this channel, so, but... Anyway, but I'm kind of bummed that the ROM for this didn't end up working, because the audio and the video quality is both a lot like clearer and more crisp on the ROM than it is just capturing directly from the PS2, which, I mean, makes sense. I mean, I am recording in 1080p on my capture card, but it is a PS2, so it's like native resolution and everything is not that. So, and I don't really mind it. I don't know how you guys feel about it. It's also the case for the Wii games. Some games look better than others on this with this capture card, but I mean, it doesn't really bother me personally. I like, you know, having grown up with these games, I'm used to them looking imperfect and having that kind of, you know, playing an old console on a new TV fuzz to them. But, you know, as long as they take up the whole screen and, you know, everything on the screen is legible and whatever, I don't have much of an issue with it, but I hope it's not an LP ruining experience. Anyway, here we have a nice, fun, interactive version of the iconic scene from the Bee film.
Watch your wings!
No way! Coming in at you like a missile!
I like that part. I like the part in the movie. It's just the kind of thing, you know. When I was a kid, it was very much into those sorts of things where it was like small animal or small thing in the regular human world interacting with everyday things in different ways. I was always into that kind of thing. Ratatouille was part of that. Flushed Away was another one of those, where they had all the boats that were made of like things that were in the trash. and stuff like that. And Over the Hedge game, and the way that you, all the different, like, weapons and using the houses in different ways. You know what I'm talking about. All the different worlds and stuff like that. That kind of thing was always something I was into as a kid, and the bee on a tennis ball just was one of those great cartoony types of things like that I liked. Anyway, so now we have rain, which is a whole thing in this game. Sometimes it's raining, and the thing you need to do to avoid the rain is to slow down time with your brain, and avoid all of the raindrops. And then you go into those little whirlwinds, or currents, I think they're called, to go quickly through them, but you have to dodge the raindrops in there. The rain sequences, they're not that many of them, and they're usually not, like, super long if you're, like, not fucking up a lot, which does happen to me sometimes, but didn't really happen to me here, thankfully. But they're annoying, and I don't really enjoy them. They're just kind of a pain in the ass. It takes a long time to get around. It's kind of easy to knock into the raindrops sometimes, and sometimes the currents have other obstacles that you have to avoid while you're inside of them that can be difficult to know exactly where they are and where you need to be on the screen because of how you're oriented as you're moving around in the current. Also, when you're collecting these honey snacks, they can kind of block your view for a second, so I don't know. There's just a lot of little annoyances with these levels that I don't like. Also, there's not as much doing the flowers, and I like doing the flowers. But they're always a pain in the ass to get to, so I never do them in these stages. Also, I was just thinking, I remember when I was a kid thinking that this game should have not been called B-Movie Game, but B-Game. Which I kind of stand by still, honestly. I think that would be funny if there's B-Movie and then the game based on it was called B-Game instead of B-Movie Game. Because usually around then, they would kind of try not to call it, like, movie game. That's why it's so funny that the SpongeBob movie game is just called the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Like, as its just regular official title. But anyway, yeah, I think that would be funny. And mostly because the whole B-movie thing is obviously the title is obviously a play on, you know, a B-movie. But, and then they had those trailers with Jerry Seinfeld and Chris Rock where they were real life people in bee costumes on like giant sets, and they made these trailers like 2 years before the movie came out. And so I think when I was a kid when the first one came out, because it took them 2 or 3 before they actually showed the animated Barry character at the in the trailer. It's at the suggestion of Steven Spielberg that it's a cartoon. But until then, when I was a kid, I remember thinking, like, oh, Jerry Seinfeld is going to make a live-action movie where he plays a bee in a bee costume. And I kind of wish we had gotten that. That kind of would have been funny. And it would be funny if that was the original conceit of the film, and Jerry went to Spielberg to do that at DreamWorks, and Spielberg was like, why don't you do it for the fucking Shrek people? That's a bad idea. But I kind of doubt that that's how it went. But it's funny to dream, and to think that. And look at him now. He's made a movie with an enduring cultural footprint. And by that I mean there are a bunch of memes and shit. Which, by the way, there's not much time left in this video, but there's not a whole lot going on right now. So, I want to briefly say something that comes up every couple of weeks on Twitter and Reddit and other places where people talk about movies. And every couple of weeks someone shares the sentiment that Avatar, the James Cameron movie from 2009, has no quote-unquote cultural impact, that no one remembers it, and that it didn't, like, become anything else or whatever. It's always a little bit vague what they mean by it, but most of the time they just mean, like, memes, and, I don't know, they didn't, like, make a cartoon series out of it, or, like, a bunch of toys or something. Like, it didn't get made into a endless sclerotic franchise like every other popular thing ever. For one thing, I mean, first of all, who cares is the main thing. Like, whatever you define cultural impact as, who gives a shit? What does that matter? It's the highest grossing movie ever made. So what? It doesn't mean it has to mean anything. It's the one that made the most money because of a confluence of circumstances. And did I really miss that wax statue right there? Oh wow, I didn't even see that. It was right in front of my fucking face when I was playing this game and I didn't even see it. How about that? But the other thing is that it's just wrong in terms of how it affected 3D technology and everything and other stuff. I mean, people were killing themselves to go to Pandora, or wanting to kill themselves to go to Pandora. People definitely, like, it definitely was a thing that was referred to a lot in culture for a long time, including right now. Again, we go through this every couple of weeks, so obviously it had some kind of impact. Not even an Avatar stan, but it's kind of missed me. Anyway, we're about to die, so see you next time for that.